Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. My name's Rob Hardy. Today we're going to work on my little Falcon car a little bit. I don't get nearly enough time to work on this thing. I'm always wrapped up in a whole bunch of other stuff, but we got some pretty neat stuff. A little part that I made totally from scratch. I'm excited to show you that. And also we have one of the power steering lines underneath the front of the car needed to be relocated because of the engine positioning. We're going to get to that too, and maybe a few other things. Stick around. All right, guys, so this part is something I made. I didn't really need it, but I didn't like the one that I had. So it's just a reservoir. The clutch master cylinder reservoir that I got for this car when I bought the modern driveline kit, and it came with a little dinky plastic one, and I just didn't like it. Let me show it to you. Hang on one second. Okay, it's this. It's one of these little jobs. It's plastic. It looks like Tupperware. And with all the little details and all the things that I've done on this car, I just felt like this was a little out of place. So I ended up making this. Now, see if you can get a better look at it here. It's a cool bonus, huh? So what I made this out of is I made the bracket just out of plate steel. I ended up cutting this with this geometry here. I cut with a fly cutter, and then the outside I kind of cut like in chunks with the bandsaw and then just shaped it by hand, and then I relieved these on the mill. So there's mill and lathe work on this, and then what I ended up doing is slitting it here, drilling and tapping the holes, and basically the two halves just clamp onto the bar stock. And that's all this middle part was. The reservoir was just bar stock. Let me open it up and show it to you here. So here's the lid for it. I've got that's a little 5/16 stud, and I pulled the threads off it there, so it just sits in there without falling off. When I had it fully threaded, it just felt wrong. Anyways, I cut an outside ring here for an O-ring, and it's pressed in there and it sits. There's just a piece of bar stock across the middle, and it's threaded, and it's just a reservoir. It looks a lot cooler than it really is, I think. It's just for holding fluid. But I'm happy with it, and I think it's going to fit the car a lot better than that little plastic thing. We'll just go over to the car. I'm going to show you where I'm going to mount it, and then I'll explain why I had to cut that geometry into it. Let's go. All right, now the reason for the angle on that bracket is because it's going to sit on the apron right there. And you can see back here, the master cylinder has a 90-degree fitting coming out of it. This has a 90-degree. And the straightest shot between the two is going to be if I just mount it right there. Totally accessible, and I think it looks pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop some holes in the back of that, thread for 1/4-20, and then transfer that hole pattern to the apron here and get this thing bolted up. There we got our 2 holes in there. You see it tapping quarter 20. I want kind of a straight shot. It doesn't matter too bad. I mean, I can move this cylinder up and down in the mount, so. That looks awesome to me. Dude, look at that. I mean, sometimes I make things and I'm like, dude, that looks great. A lot of times I make garbage and I scrap it, but I'm pretty happy with how this came out. That's gonna work. It looks like the feed line is maybe a little downhill or has to go uphill a little bit, but the weight of the fluid in the reservoir is gonna push that. It's gonna climb, so I'm not even worried. All right, that's one thing done, and that was probably the quicker one of the two. The next thing is we have to remake this line. So this line is the line from the rack that connected both of the sides. And I believe its job is to equalize the pressure as that rack goes back and forth. So one side doesn't pressurize as the rack is traveling. Well, I don't know if that makes sense. But anyways, my oil pan was just in the way. So there's nothing on there right now. And I figured, well, I'll just get some 1/4 inch line and make it again. So I did that. Here is some new 1/4 inch line that I got. Got it in a roll, just like that. And because it came in a roll, I used the straightener here, which I love this thing. This thing is worth its money for sure. And then my blue point or snap on. This one's a blue point, but same, right? The double flare kit. So I got one on right there on that side. So we're gonna get this car in the air. This car right here. Get the Falcon in the air and see if I can't set you guys up underneath so we can see the 2 ports that we have to connect and what kind of bends it's going to take to make this happen. Okay, under the car here, what we need to do is get a line to go from where this red cap is here. Can you see that? That red cap right there. It's got to come down the front, over this side, and into this location over here. So that's what we're gonna do now. got it. It starts right up here. We brought it down. It follows these other lines and tucks up. You can see where it was before. It kind of ran along the top of the rack, and the oil pan just, I wanted the engine to sit down as far as I could, and I figured making a sacrifice for this line was probably the best bet. So there it is. Now I had to get this bend right here is really tight. It started to kink up in here, but there's not a kink in it, but it started to kink. But I'm not super impressed with this bend, but the line fits. It's definitely going to work. So that's one more thing to knock off the list. Okay, power steering line, we got that crossed off. Cooling fan, accessory line up. Tighten all brake lines, we still need to do that. Clutch lines and res. We're waiting on a line. I got to order a piece of line. But, yeah, all that is done. So we'll just go ahead and do that. Sway bar, got to figure that one out still. And install fuel injectors, haven't done that. But this list on the old Falcon here is getting short. All right, guys, that is it for this one. I know I kept this one kind of short and sweet, but it was all the stuff I had that I physically had that I could do with this car. I've ordered some more stuff to finish up the brakes, so a lot more coming from this car and then that car. But tomorrow is something cool, and I'm probably going to bring you guys with me. I'm going to look at a very special car. At least I think it's special. It's kind of cool to add to the fleet here. So make sure you check back for that. Thanks a lot, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks so much for coming around. See ya.